Hello, I'm Amy Casas, the Director of Communications for the Arlington School District. Today I'm joined by our new Superintendent, Dr. Marcelo Cavazos. Hello there, Dr. Cavazos. How are you?
I'm doing well, Amy. How are you?
Good. We're really excited to have you on board as the new Superintendent for the Arlington School District. How does it feel to be the new Superintendent?
It feels good, Amy. It feels good to be the Superintendent of Arlington ISD. We know that the opportunities that our students have today are much greater than ever before. And to be in a leadership position, to provide that leadership for our schools is really special to me. And I'm pleased to be the superintendent.
Well, you know, we're really happy to have you on board. And, you know, in looking back at your history, it's really interesting to me when I read in the newspaper that one of the things that you did as a child is pick okra with your family, and we're out in the farming communities, obviously didn't grow up with a whole lot of money. So what can you tell me about how that shaped you as a person, and also, you know, why education is so important for you because of that background that you have?
Absolutely. Amy, we focused on two things. Our family was very focused on two things. One was hard work, and the other was education. And so in the summers, from about the 5th grade through high school, I worked in the fields picking okra. And we did that in the summer, primarily to have the necessary resources, the money to buy our school supplies and our clothing for the following school year. And so that hard work and that ethic of hard work was something very important to our family. And also knowing that applying that same ethic to our school and to our studies, and to my studies in particular, was very important. And so when I went to school, from elementary, junior high, and high school, I was very focused in school, and I really loved school. And particularly in high school, I took advantage of as many opportunities as possible to prepare for my future. And I know, because we see it demonstrated time and time again, that education is the great equalizer. It breaks through the cycle of poverty, and it's done that for me and for my family. And so that's my passion in education, and that's why I'm so devoted to it, is because I know and I've seen firsthand the effect that a good education can have on a family, on an individual. And so that same opportunity, that same desire for success that I had, I want to have for our district and for the students of the district.
Well, and I know you also want to have it for your kids, because I know you have 2 children that are school district students, Diego and Teresa. And, you know, what can you tell us about how that's influenced your role now as a new superintendent? How's that going to impact what you do?
Well, it's a unique opportunity that I have to have a kindergarten student and a 4th grader at Key Elementary. And so having my children come home every day, and I get to see what they're experiencing in school and the effect that school and the school experience has on their lives and on our family lives, is a unique opportunity that I have. So the same dreams and aspirations that I have for my children to be successful and to have a positive experience in school is the same dream and aspiration that I know other parents have for their kids. And so it's always in the forefront of my mind that everything that's done in school, from their experience in the cafeteria, in PE, in recess, in the classroom, extracurricular, all those things shape their future. And knowing that and being able to see that gives me that insight. And it keeps me really grounded by having 2 kids in school and interacting with the school, and understanding what some of those barriers sometimes can be in terms of communication with the parents, the opportunities that we can provide to further enhance students' education. Seeing that firsthand gives me that real unique perspective.
Yeah, I bet it does. Now, another thing that we want to talk a little bit about is your leadership style. People are going to be really interested in knowing how you like to lead, how you like to work with people. Being a new superintendent, that's something that people really want to know. How do you like to work and interact with people?
Sure. And part of that, Amy, is to be very collaborative. And so my style is to be collaborative, and that's really the way we maximize our success as an institution, as an organization, is through collaboration. We can't work in isolation. We are interdependent as an organization. So all functions of the organization need to work with a pretty much a one perspective and one objective, and that is for the success of students. So collaborative would be one way to describe my leadership style. Service-oriented, that the primary focus of our task and our job and the work we do is to serve the students. And so I often say to parents that the schools don't belong to us. They belong to the students, and then they belong to the parents. We have the fortune and the I guess the pleasure to lead the schools and the responsibility to manage them. But ultimately, those schools are tools for students. First and foremost, it's a tool for a student to maximize their success. And so when you have that orientation of service and collaborative kind of expectations of staff, that's certainly my leadership style, and that's what I expect in terms of our leaders in our school system, is to be collaborative and service-oriented and service-minded with the objective of meeting the needs of students so that they can be successful.
So now looking to the future of AISD, if you had a crystal ball, where do you see us heading? Where do you see the future of AISD leading us towards?
Absolutely. The future is on a trajectory of accelerated improvement from all aspects of the organization, from the classroom to other functions in the system and the organization, central office, personnel, curriculum, etc., that we all improve and in an accelerated pace. And so that's the importance of our strategic plan. That gives us that foundation, that clear, direct purpose of our work that we do collectively in a school system. So a trajectory of accelerated improvement, additional and expanded opportunities for students to be successful in a meaningful way through career and career exploration and career readiness programs, college and university readiness as well, for students to be able to navigate through our system and be successful, for all students to be successful. And so the vision for the school district is one of understanding that our work, at the end of the day, ultimately impacts the lives of students and the lives of families. And with that orientation, knowing that what we do every day is important to the lives of students and their future, and that we don't really have a moment to waste in education. Certainly don't have a moment to waste in public education, that every day is meaningful and we have to make it purposeful for students. And so that type of orientation, the future orientation for students, is critical to our success as an organization and ultimately the success of students.
Now you mentioned the strategic plan. Why is a strategic plan for our district such an important thing?
Because an organization, Amy, a school system in particular, a school system like ours, 64,000 students, 8,000 employees, we need that foundation of clear objectives that we're trying to accomplish. And really to put an end to the randomness of our improvement, as an example, but be more directive and but be more aligned with our objectives so that we can meet those objectives. A strategic plan not only gives you that focus that the community has come together, the school board has come together, administration, staff, teachers, etc., to clearly align our expectations and our objectives, and then clearly define how we get there. And so it's really a map and a plan to meet our objectives and our goals. And in our case, in Arlington ISD, it's about becoming a premier school district, serving our students in an exceptional manner, and making sure that all students are successful, not only on the STAR test or state assessments, but in other aspects of their school experience, giving back to their community, being productive, being college and career ready, having a career plan as they progress through our system. That those things are important, not only for our school system, but for our community and our parents and our organizations that support us. So a strategic plan is critical to that, because if you don't have a strategic plan, your efforts are at best random. And with a strategic plan, they're more unified, and it's a clear direction, and we speak with one voice as a school system of where we're trying to go and what we want for our students.
And I know that one of the first things we're going to be doing related to the strategic plan is a lot of surveys that are going to be going out. Why is it important to get that feedback in those surveys, and what type of surveying will we be doing as a district?
Okay. Well, we'll be surveying different aspects of our community and our school system. So we're going to survey parents, community members, teachers, principals, central office staff, department staff, and students. And so those surveys are important because we are ultimately a learning organization. And in order to continue to be a learning and an effective organization, we have to get input from our stakeholders and our clients, basically. And so that input, that feedback that we get, built on a foundation of improvement. And so the feedback that we get is critical. We can't rely anymore on just anecdotes or stories or examples that are limited. We're 64,000 students, 8,000 employees. Has to be a systemic way of obtaining feedback from our employees and our community and our students to improve. And so from the teacher perspective or the campus perspective as an example, what's the workplace environment like in that school? Not to point out negatives or to point out deficiencies, but what's the workplace environment and the feedback that we get so we can improve, so that we can have an improvement type of orientation in our school system. Because ultimately, our role is to meet the needs of the students. And in order for us to meet the needs of the students, we need the feedback. And so without the feedback, again, you're working in pretty much isolation, at best randomness in terms of improvement efforts. Surveys are one tool that we're going to use to obtain that feedback, to set targets for improvement as a system, not just in isolated areas. So it's going to be critical for the future as we progress. And it's something that we have to make sure that the culture of the school system is prepared to obtain that feedback in a very positive way and in a trusting way. Trusting the fact that the purpose of the feedback is for improvement. And it always has to be in terms of that improvement cycle for us to make the gains that we want to make.
I noticed that in part of the comments that you were just talking about, you mentioned the word clients and how in that respect we have to think about customer service. We know we're not a business organization, yet we have to think about customer service. Why is that so important, and who are our customers as a school district?
Absolutely. Amy, ultimately the customers in our school system are the students. And that's our primary client, if you will, of our school system. But our customers are also our parents, our community, members from different organizations that interact with our schools. And so to have customer service that's exceptional, that's excellent, is important because it affects the school and it affects the outcomes of students. So if you have a negative experience with a school, for example, it has that effect on the entire school. And it really becomes more of a distractor in what you're trying to accomplish. So it's our task and our responsibility to continue to improve our customer service. And in many, many areas we have very, very strong customer service. And the feedback I get from the community is that our school system communicates well, is receptive to some new ideas and things like that. But that's always a work that needs to be continually improved. And so customer service affects the school system and ultimately affects what students learn and how they learn. So it's an area of focus for me and for our strategic plan or in our strategic plan, the whole notion of having exceptional customer service to meet the needs of students.
And I also know that, you know, as you go out in the community, you're always talking about the importance of community involvement, the importance of businesses being involved and being engaged in our schools and nonprofits and faith-based organizations. The list goes on and on.
That's great.
But basically just the importance of community involvement in our schools.
Right.
Why is that so important for our school district?
Because, Amy, we can't do our work in isolation. And it really takes the entire community to ensure that students are successful. Because when the students are in our schools, for example, it's our responsibility to make sure that they are receiving the instruction and having the experience that will help them be successful. But we know that our students, when they leave our school system, they interact with faith-based organizations, with community organizations, with city organizations, in their home and with their friends in social settings. And so as we find ways to enhance the experience of students in the school, we have to reach out and collaborate with and engage our community and those different organizations. Because through those collaborations, through that interdependency that we know exists, and if we can enhance that, and when we enhance those things, it means a higher likelihood of success for our students. And so the community is vitally important. It also gives us that opportunity when we engage our community and engage our community effectively to give us the feedback of what are the needs of the community, what are the needs of the business industry, what are the needs of the workforce as we do our work to prepare our students. So our work is not stagnant, and it can't be stagnant. And it has to be influenced by external sources like our community, like our business, like our parents, in order to be effective. If our work becomes isolated and stagnant, it doesn't meet the needs of students. So to say that we can continue with certain practices or initiatives that may have worked well 5, 10 years ago without getting input of, is it still working? Is it still necessary? It really leads us down a path of really stagnation. And so what we're aiming to do and what we continue to do and what we've done here with our strategic plan is engage that community and make sure that we use the information and their partnership and their efforts in the improvement of students.
And I guess that's why it's important to focus on the school culture and the district culture.
That's right.
Because as you mentioned, the surveys are going to kind of help shape what we do, as well as that community engagement. So why is school culture and district culture, why are those things so vital to the district?
Because the success of a strategic plan, for example, the success of our initiatives and our programming and things that we do, the work that we do in a school system, is highly dependent on the culture of the organization. And so what do we talk about what do we mean when we talk about the culture of an organization? The culture of an organization is how do we communicate, for example? How do we accept the feedback that we obtain, either through surveys or state test results, for example? How do we face our issues and our challenges? How do we change and become adaptive and become more adaptive to the challenges and to the opportunities that exist for students? Those type of things make up the school culture. How do we engage with one another? How do we treat each other in an organization and in staff and how we work? How do we support schools? Are we focused on being service oriented? Those things make up a school culture. And so the likelihood of success of a strategic plan or initiatives that we provide or promote are highly dependent on that culture. If the culture is resistant to that, it becomes much more difficult to make improvement. So there are specific things that we're doing to affect the school culture and to change the school culture with the implementation of professional learning communities as an example. Data-wise, in a cycle of improvement and using information for improvement purposes. Collaborating and providing teachers time and opportunity to collaborate so that they can join forces in meeting the needs of students. Because we know that when people come together, decisions that are made are much more effective and much more likely to be successful when we're focused on the same objective. And so that interdependence and that culture of service-oriented and a culture of collaboration are critical and vital really to the success of the district.
And I guess in order to have that culture, you really need everybody to play a part in the organization, correct?
That's correct, Amy. That's correct. And when I interact with custodians and bus drivers and cafeteria workers and teachers and administrators and counselors, all in an effort to reinforce the fact that the work that we do, the work that each of us does every single day, has a connection to students and has a connection to their future, to the students' success in school. And so whether we're transporting students to school or from school, supervising extracurricular activities, providing safety and security in our schools, teaching in the classrooms, providing administrative support to the campuses, all that effort is important and critical for the success of students. And so that connection that 8,000 employees have to one objective, which is making sure students are successful, is vitally important. So when I interact with the different staff members in different departments, that's one thing I emphasize, that their work, the work that we do, is critical to the success of students, and that everyone collectively is important to that work. And sometimes in organizations, there's a tendency to focus on one aspect or several aspects. In today's organization, in Arlington ISD, my focus is on every part of the organization, because we know that every part of the organization is necessary for students to have success.
We're such a large organization, 64,000 students, 8,000 employees. How do you expect to keep us focused and keep us on that vision of the strategic plan?
Absolutely, Amy. And the strategic plan, for example, has very specific steps and timelines that we're following. And our board has made a commitment, both financial commitment and a commitment through the strategic plan, to keep that focus and very, very purposeful focus on the improvement of the school district and the students. So to keep a system focused on improvement and in the same direction, it's really working through the leadership and the employees that we have. And so it's making sure that the leadership in the buildings, in the departments, in the classroom, and the students are focused on improvement and in the same direction. And so a lot of the work that we do is through other people and through individuals that lead our school system. And so the same expectations of collaboration, of using data, of being receptive, of being mindful that our efforts are to improve and that it's everyone's responsibility to improve. Continuing that emphasis and making sure that that permeates in the organization is a leadership task. And that's why we have trainings, and that's why we have different communication that we're doing with our staff and our teachers and our department heads, is to make sure that that service orientation, that improvement model is permeating throughout the organization and is sustainable. And so our actions, our deliverables, and things that we start in terms of our strategic plan, and when we make the gains that we know we're going to make, will be that demonstration of a unified effort in improving our school system. And I can tell you from the state of the district that I was able to provide for our community, and to the kickoff celebration that we had for our strategic plan, the energy there to have a purpose and to meet the needs of all students was very pronounced. And it's a very good thing to see, and I think more than anything else to experience, because it was a group of people, a large group of people, that came together for a singular and kind of common purpose, and that is to ensure that our students are successful. So that was energizing to me, and I think it was energizing to the district, that we have that strategic plan, that we've come together to meet the needs of students, and that our success is highly dependent on the way we collaborate with each other, the way we introduce initiatives, the way we use data, the way we obtain feedback from our employees and our community.
You know, one thing I've noticed about you as I've observed you at different events is that anytime there's students in the room, it never fails. You tend to gravitate immediately to the students, interact with them, find out how their school experience is going. Why is that? Why is that so important to you?
Because, Amy, when I visit with students, and you're right, I really enjoy visiting with students and obtaining their feedback and having a conversation with them. Every single time I interact with students, I learn something. I learn something about the work that I need to do. I learn something about their experience and the effect that the things that we're doing has on them. And so it gives me that renewal every time I talk to students, whether it's pre-K students, in elementary, 5th graders, junior high students, high school students. It gives me that renewal and really the purpose that I have in terms of serving the district as a superintendent, because I see the effects that we have on the lives of students and their future. And I can tell you that whenever I interact with students, that when we have a conversation about the future of their success, the future of our district and of their school, they're really inspired. And so it inspires me, and it keeps me rejuvenated and energized to do the work that we do every day and that I do.
Well, talking about energy and having that excitement, what message would you give to our community, to our parents, to our students, to our employees? You know, anybody that is involved in the school district, or perhaps even is looking at having their kids be part of our school district, why they should be excited about what's going on in Arlington right now? Why should they want to be a part of Arlington if they're not already part of Arlington? And if you are a part of Arlington ISD, why should they be excited about what's going on?
Absolutely. And part of the reason that people should be excited about what's going on in Arlington ISD is because they can have some confidence that our trajectory to improvement and our common unified effort to improve the school system and improve the success of students and their learning experience is consistent. It's consistent from the board level, superintendent level, classroom level, and all employees in the school system. And that we've reached out to the community to engage them and energize them and inspire them to partner with us in that improvement effort. So as we look at the community and why should people be excited about this time in the life of Arlington ISD, it's because we've come together, Amy, and we've built a very strong strategic plan, but we've also become very, very focused on the future. And we have a future orientation. And so when a system, an organization, is mindful of the future and where we're trying to go with students, and we come together to unify that vision of the future, the likelihood of success is much greater. And I think that's what's energized people. And so we expect that of our students, for them to think of their future. Think of how this homework assignment or this reading assignment or this test affects your future. When you ask students to do that, we should do the same thing as a learning organization. We should think of the actions and the decisions we make today, the budgets that we approve, the advocacy that we have with our state legislators, for example, and how that affects the future of students. And so I think that's energized the community, certainly energized the staff in knowing that we've come together and we're very mindful of the future. And again, I've said this before, when we have conversations with students, when I have conversations with students about their future, they light up because it's an entirely different conversation. It's a conversation about the expectations, the possibilities, the inspiration that can happen. And so you do that and you have that with an organization, and then improvement happens. And so that's, I think, why you see so much excitement and energy.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Dr. Cavazos, for taking the time to talk to me. It was certainly enjoyable, and I'm certainly excited about being part of the AISD.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate the opportunity.